So, what's on the agenda today? Before we get to today's video, I want to take a moment to talk about Patreon. That's right, we are on Patreon now, and we have a bunch of tiers with a bunch of great rewards. You can subscribe and get things like early access to all reactions, depending on your tier, depends on which reactions you get early access to. You can vote on polls exclusive to patrons that will help determine future reaction series and more. You will get to just have various choices in terms of like getting to choose future reactions I react to, getting to choose first impressions I check out, all kinds of different rewards, and possibly more coming in the future. We're still new at this. We're still figuring things out. It's a process. It's a process. But we have multiple tiers, so whatever you would be able to donate, if you're able and willing to donate, is appreciated. It helps me out, it helps the channel out, it helps us grow. It's going to help just, standardly. It's just something new to check out. Plus, if you like getting the reactions early, that's also a plus. But it is optional. If you're unable to do it, that's completely fine. All reactions will come to YouTube just a little bit later, a week later or so. So, that all being said, thank you as always so much, and let's get on with today's video. And with that being said, hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to episode 11 of Gnosia. Last time we got a gender bender episode, but also kind of a spooky episode with the slime mold. Not quite as bad as the Kukrushka stuff, but still. And we even got a lot of developments for Sha Ming, which were very much appreciated. We're getting a lot more information, and it's really interesting to see. Like, there was also quite a bit of near nudity. Like at the beginning, with Yuri like waking up as a girl and being topless. It's like, oh, okay, put on a shirt, please. But then also you have like Rakio like almost being fully naked at one point, and at the end Jonas is like almost fully naked because of the sauna plan to destroy the slime mold. And it's just like, okay, sure, why not? But yeah, it was a really good episode that allowed for a good discussion on gender, as well as talking about just the various intricacies of like masking when you're trying to like hide for your emotional, mental, and physical safeties, when you're trying to hide who you are and what you're really like and everything, and how that can be done in various circumstances by all kinds of different people. It was a really good discussion, and I'm sure there's plenty of things I didn't mention last time. But that's what the comments are for. Now you may notice that I'm wearing the same thing as in the last reaction. That's because I'm just recording these back to back. Having come back to this series and everything, I'm gonna be trying to like do a little bit of catching up, trying to get like ahead in the recordings, like I have with most everything else on the channel. So even though like you're watching this on Patreon or YouTube in like a specific given week and day and all, it's like this is being recorded ahead of time. And I'm going to try to get even more ahead of time with these recordings, just to make sure that like I'm on track with everything else I'm recording ahead of time. But yeah, so the last episode didn't end the loop though, because after Yuri and Sha Ming were put into the sleeping pod, they were woken up by Jonas, who had discovered the slime mold's weakness to heat. And the episode just kind of ended. but the loop hadn't ended. We did see who the Gnosia were. Or not Jonas. Sha Ming was self-admittedly one of them, and the other one was SQ. Which isn't a surprise because we saw SQ was like being really shitty to Remnen. Like just really shitty. We don't even know fully like what was going on there, but it's like Remnen was like shaking and like just really freaked the fuck out, and it's like I feel really bad for him. SQ's always been a little bit of a troublemaker though. So that's not really a huge surprise to me. Um but yeah, I'm very curious to see like how far are we gonna get further into this time loop, or is this episode just gonna start with a new one? Maybe we don't have to see the end of the loop every time, and it's just like, oh, we know that loop's over. Let's just continue on. I don't know, but with knowing more about Kukrushka now and her being a doll, a living doll, that kind of tracks for what we saw a few episodes back. And we also know that there's now two of them. If we ever see Kukrushka as a crew member, then there's also the other one that's going to be in the storage. The other body. So I'm wondering if that has something to do with Kukrushka like going crazy before, or if it is just solely related to Remnen or whatnot, because we still don't have all the answers. And I'm just very curious to find out more. So yeah, I guess we'll just get into this episode and see what we can find out. So let's check it out. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. Welcome to the Afterthoughts. We'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, it seems like we're like really in a process right now of developing characters. Because last episode we got some notable development for Sha Ming, and this episode it's SQ. So, this episode, Yuri and SQ are the guards, and so they're confirmed human, and so the entire episode has Yuri trying to learn information about SQ. It's all about like trying to get any little bits of truth possible. And that's really the focus of this one. We don't really focus on the Gnosia stuff that much. In fact, that stuff's actually resolved super fucking quickly. It's really kind of hand waved off in this one because we're focusing so heavily on SQ. And this episode reveals that SQ, like Sha Ming and others, has been wearing a mask. Figuratively, not literally necessarily, but we find out that SQ is a clone body, an artificially created clone body for a woman named Manon. Manon was also the owner of Remnen, who Remnen was a slave under, which we had found that out prior, that Remnen was, a slave under this horrifically terrible, evil woman. So we have the information that that's the case, even though it like tried to not like fully confirm it. It tried to be like subtle about it, like, oh, maybe that's the case, but it's obvious that's the case. With the entire SQ and Remnen conversation that happened and everything. So we find out that Manon has this like desire to keep herself young forever, or like eternally young. And so she creates these clone bodies to transfer her consciousness to. And in depending on the world line, it depends on whether or not that succeeded or failed. In this world line, we see that it failed. And so the SQ that we see here is, you know, a is when the is basically the clone body developed its own consciousness, and when the transfer failed because of that, um was able to gain some of the memories of Manon as well. It's like that's the only thing left of Manon within this timeline. Just some memories inside of SQ. But we see that SQ's entire like crazy, wild, happy-go-lucky personality, even being super flirty, is a mask. It's hinted at us right from the start with the fact that Yuri tries to like be nicer to SQ, which just means like going along with what SQ is saying about like being flirty and everything. But the instant that they try that, SQ recoils like, no, like I didn't actually mean it. I was just messing with you. It's like I wasn't expecting you to say that. Um, but it goes to show that SQ has been like this entire thing's been an act. It's been a mask, and we find out why it makes a lot of sense. SQ has an extremely low opinion of themselves. Like I would say it's full on self hatred. And even beyond that, I would also say it's like almost self like what would be a good way to put it? They SQ doesn't see themselves as a real person. We'll just say it as it was put in there. They don't see themselves as real. They see themselves as like a worthless like waste of space pretty much. They see themselves as, just a failed clone of Manon. And they put on this mask basically to survive. It is absolutely a survival tactic that they use because they're so very clearly depressed and fucked, like emotionally fucked by their existence, that if they don't put on this like this attitude, this fake self, they probably wouldn't be able to properly survive. Not just in terms of like the Gnosia stuff, but in terms of like dealing with their own depression and, self-hatred and pain. Like it would not end well for them. And as someone who's dealt with like heavy depression, not usually through imposter syndrome or anything, but who's dealt with like heavy depression and pain and feeling worthless, like I know what that's like. And I don't know if it was like super apparent, but I was tearing up at by the end there because it's like I felt that kind of pain and self-hatred. And I'm luckily in a much better place currently. I'm luckily not feeling that kind of pain, and I haven't in quite a long time. But it's one of those cases where it's something that like is obviously really personal to me and is like it's something I think about a lot. Even though I'm in a better place, it's like I'm still always thinking about like how just fucked up I've been in the past. And it's just hard to fully get over that. Because it's such a deep pain, it's such a like a deep emotional, heavy, internalized pain that you can't really just get rid of it by being in a better state of mind. It's like a lot of people say, like even if you beat depression, quote unquote, by like finding a better state of mind and being in a better place, it's like that depression is still with you. It's not gone, it's just hibernating. It's it's not actively attacking you, but it can come back, and it has. And I've had little bouts here and there. I've just never gotten, thankfully, to the point I had been at prior, to the point where I was, trying to commit suicide like multiple times. I've thankfully never gotten back to that place. I've never been that bad off again. But I do occasionally have bouts of depression. I have moments where I cry myself to sleep. I have times where I'm just in like notable like emotional pain. And it's not something that can just be forever resolved. It's it's such a deep emotional mental strain that it will always be there. So seeing like SQ, like the truth behind SQ, dealing with all of that while putting on this like mask of this happy-go-lucky wild personality, pretending to like basically not have a care in the world, being super flirty and fun. And also like especially the like referring to themselves as cute little SQ and stuff. It's just like, with the context that we learn this episode, it makes it so ridiculously sad. Because it's like with the stuff with Sha Ming last episode, it's like there was a sadness to it, but I was like, it's like it more made me like him as a character and more made me endeared to him. This one just made me fucking depressed. This one just made me super fucking sad. Like, I just felt so bad for SQ here. Because again, I've never like really had like an imposter syndrome kind of thing where I've felt like I wasn't real, or felt like I wasn't like who I claimed to be or anything. Um, but I've felt worthless. I've felt like I didn't matter a lot, and it's something that like really bothers me, that my mind makes me feel like that. And so that I connected with that to such a degree that it just made me really, really sad. But SQ also, on top of letting their mask drop, gave Yuri a warning. And I feel like this is going to be very important. SQ told Yuri that because of the world lines, not every SQ that they meet is going to be like this one. A lot of the SQs are going to be where Manon succeeded at transferring her consciousness. And I'm wondering, because there's the implication that Manon was like super violent, because there's like, oh, the talk about like goriness and whatnot. I'm wondering if, but that wouldn't make sense. I was gonna say, I'm wondering if the world lines where SQ is a Gnosia, I'm wondering if that's Manon, but that doesn't necessarily apply, because being a Gnosia just means that they were taken over when they were leaving the planet, when they were escaping. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with their original personality. We know that the Gnosia can actually be pretty good people. that they're not automatically evil or anything. So I think I'm wrong about that. Not to say that Manon can't be SQ as a Gnosia. Absolutely can be. But I feel like Manon could also be SQ um just whenever they're not a Gnosia. So that's fascinating. Um I figure we'll find more out about that as the series continues. But like we also now have that connection to Remnin. And then like Remnin has like the thing that went down with Kakrushka before. It's just like there's just so many things kind of like connecting. Like why did the Kakrushka doll go after Remnin? And like with what Remnin was saying, like why does there seem to almost be a connection with his former slave master Manon? I don't I unless I don't know. I'm thinking of something, but I don't know if it's a crack theory or not. Because the problem, and obviously, do not try to confirm or deny any theories in the comments. I don't want any spoilers for anything that's going to be told to me in the series. Um, but I'm wondering because we found out about Remnin being a slave and everything when all of this was happening, and he said something along the lines of that Kakrushka, like after going crazy, like reminded him of his slave master. And we find out in this episode that the slave master was Manon, who is the mother, the original host for the clone bodies that SQ is one of. So if Kakrushka, after going crazy, reminded Remnin of his master, of Manon, and we know from this episode that Manon was able to transfer her consciousness to these other clone bodies. Could the reason that Kakrushka went crazy be for some reason and somehow Manon transferring her consciousness to the doll? Because there was also I think the threats last episode of the parasite, Comet's parasite taking over the doll. So could Manon have transferred her consciousness to the doll, and that's why Kakrushka reminded Remnin of his master? But that doesn't. I feel like we don't have enough information, so that's why I'm worried this is a crack theory. And again, do not tell me. Do not tell me if I'm right or wrong. I do not want you to spoil anything for me, because if my theory ends up being right, cool, I figured something out. If it ends up being wrong, that's fine too. it just means I was wrong. I have no issue with that. I'm wrong all the time. But it's like this, it's the only, it's coming to my mind because I feel like it tracks, but at the same time, I feel like we don't have enough information. Like, however this consciousness transfer is done, can this be done towards a puppet body like that, a doll body? We don't even know if that's the case. Because honestly, if that's the case, then why would Manon try to transfer to a clone body instead? If Manon wanted to stay young forever, wouldn't a doll body, like in the first place, make more sense? I don't know. It feels like trying to like create a clone of yourself and transfer to that body until that body wears out, and then going to another one just over and over would feel very like needless. Again, if you can just transfer to a puppet, basically a doll. I don't know. I feel like I just don't have the information here. Like we're like on the cusp of that, but I feel like we need a little bit more information regarding just all of this with Manon. We need more information regarding like Remnan's past. I'm really worried that it's just a crack theory. Even though, again, it's not that big of a deal. If it is, if then it's just like, okay, I was just wrong. That's not a big deal. Um, but I'm like, I'm worried that I sound stupid. I'm worried like I sound like an idiot here. I don't know. Like I said, don't tell me though. Don't reveal if I'm right or wrong. Just I'm very curious to see what actually is the truth, and I want to, because I, especially with the entire stuff with Kakrushka going crazy, because that was my favorite episode so far. I love the horror shit, so I want to know more about that, and I'm wondering if I'm putting clues together or if I'm just making shit up. I don't know. But if there's anything else I forgot to mention, if there's anything else that I didn't like talk about specifically that you want to hear my thoughts on, please feel free to leave those in the comments below. I do read every comment, so I'll be able to see if there's anything you want to know my thoughts on and whatnot. But for now, thank you so much as always for tuning in. I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.